The X Zone Radio Show is heard on radio broadcast affiliates worldwide, including
AM 580 CFRA in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
WPUL AM 1590 in Daytona Beach, Florida.
KOHI AM 1610 in St. Helens, Oregon.
KHRO AM 1150 in El Paso, Texas. And for more information on becoming a professional broadcast affiliate of the X Zone Radio Show, visit
www.xzbn.net
or call toll-free worldwide
1-800-610-7035.
The X Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and you know what? For the next 4 hours, I'm going to be your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, and then from 2 a.m. until 6 a.m. Eastern, and then from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and Star Cable. Our toll-free worldwide number is 1-800-610-7035. My email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And to see the coming soon attractions of Paragators, visit www.paragators.org/coming-soon.htm. X Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is Kal Garrison. We're going to be talking to Kal in the first part of the show about the Weiser Field Guide to Ascension. Now, tackling a vast and often misconstrued topic, the Weiser Field Guide to Ascension delivers the layman's guide to historical, biblical, and highly topical implications surrounding the Earth shift and changes of 2012, the end of times, and our role in all of these. Now, what will happen to my loved one? Will I have the same memories in the next dimension? How can I prepare for the great shift? Well, Kal Garrison addresses these natural human concerns with humor and practical suggestions for making the most out of the coming Earth changes and our shift into a universal consciousness. Joining me now is Kal Garrison. Kal, welcome to the X Zone.
Yeah, hi. How are you doing?
Any better? And I just couldn't take it. It's a beautiful day here in Hamilton, and it's the kind of day with the kind of guests that just makes everything worthwhile.
Yeah. So where do you want to start?
Well,
we can go anywhere, so you tell me how you want to do it.
All right. First of all, I've got to take a commercial break coming up very shortly, but yeah. I just would like to get a very brief answer for you. Is December the 21st, 2012, all about doom and gloom?
No, I don't think so. And I think that it's interesting because I think more and more people are waking up to the fact that it isn't about that. However, all the publicity that it's getting and a lot of the things that have been written about it
Mm-hmm.
would seem to indicate that. I think the problem is that the focus has been too much on the disaster element. And really, now that we're beginning to understand a little bit more through the connections that we've made to some of the indigenous people of the world, that this is something that has happened before and that there's a pattern to it, it makes it easier to understand, okay, how it is that we're going to get through it and what actually is it that's taking place, because it isn't just about this arbitrary, destructive process. This is a rebirth.
Let's talk
and
about
all the energy. Excuse me, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's talk more about this when we come back from this 2-minute commercial break that we have to take, Kal. Kal Garrison's our very special guest, and we're talking to Kal this half of the show about the Weezer Field Guide to Ascension, the meaning of miracles and shifts in consciousness, past and present. www.redwheelweezer.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with Kal Garrison as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Just as I thought it was going all right, I found out I'm wrong when I thought I was right. It's always the same, it's just a shame, that's all. I could say day and you'd say night. Tell me it's black when I know that it's white. Always the same, it's just a shame, and that's all. I could leave but I won't go, though my heart might tell me so. I can't feel a thing from my head down to my toes. But why does it always seem to be me looking at you with you looking at me? It's always the same, it's just a shame, that's all.
Exonation, Kal Garrison is our special guest, and we'd like you to check out this website, Exonation, www.thespiritofmatt.com. That's www.thespiritofmatt.com, and Matt is spelled M-A-A-T, and that's .com. Kal, why do you think people are so hooked on the date, December the 21st, 2012?
Well, because it's the only one that we've been given to go on, and it's based on research that's been done into the Mayan calendar. But what's come to light in the past, 10, 20 years is that, the Mayan calendar traditions were secrets that were kept in the oral traditions of the indigenous South, the South American and Mesoamerican elders. So all of that information and any dates that we might have from the research that we've had access to, that stuff isn't accurate because it's not based on anything that relates to any of the information that the elders know to be true. And so what's going on right now is the elders are coming out with this information that's saying, it may not be 2012. That's just a ballpark figure. So there are windows of time on either side of that date. And we entered one of those windows, approximately 2 years ago. So basically right now we're moving through this minefield of dates that, could trigger off a pole shift or what at the spiritual level is known as the ascension process any day now.
Tell me, Kal, since you've been doing your research and since you finished your Ascension manuscript, have more prophecies been revealed?
It's interesting. As far as I know, no. I mean, I work for Dromolo Melchizedek, and he keeps in touch with that stuff. But what I know, I hear from him or through people that he's associated with, some of the elders.
Right.
But no, lately I haven't heard anything more, but there were a couple of dates in May that they had pinpointed as potential dates for a pole shift, and we made it through those dates. So now we're in this sort of concourse of dates that are going to be active between now and the end of August. And if you were looking at it from an astrological perspective, you would say, any time, in the next 2 months, we could see the poles shifting. And there's a lot of talk about that happening, even in July. So
Hold on
It's
to
one
your
of those
hat.
things where you can't. It's very hard to predict. Even David
Yeah.
Wilcox, who has a lot to say about these things, he's supposedly the reincarnation of Edgar Casey. He says, we really don't know. And the elders are saying the same thing. I just recently watched a clip of Don Alejandro, the head of the Mayan elders, saying that it could happen any day now, and it might not happen till 2020. But the point is, even if we don't have a lot of time, I mean, even if it's 10 years from now, we still don't have that much time. So a lot of things have to change in a short period of time, regardless of whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now.
Can you tell us how the biblical version, Cal, and the last days as described to the indigenous wisdoms compare or tie into each other?
Oh, they tie in directly. I mean, this is the thing. The fundamentalist perspective that's all based on the last days, the Book of Revelations, all of that stuff. What they're talking about is this rapture that's supposed to take place, and the righteous will ascend into the New Jerusalem. Well, from a New Age perspective, the New Jerusalem is no different than our entrance into the age of Aquarius. Okay, which from that perspective opens us up to 2,000 years of harmony and peace. All right.
Yeah.
And as far as the indigenous people are concerned, in their cosmology, all it means is that we're making our entrance into the next world, which, depending on which discipline you come from, is either the fourth or the fifth world. They're basically the same thing. So, and their description of that world is akin to anything you might hear any enraptured fundamentalist tell you about the New Jerusalem, or any New Age hippie telling you about what it's going to be like to live in the age of light. It's all the same thing.
Cal, are you convinced that this change has to include the pole shift?
It's interesting. I have been told that there is nothing we can do to change that. All right, that it is the physical aspect that for the Earth is part of the inner process that she is going through to rebirth herself into the next dimension, onto the next grid level, up to the next octave of experience. It's part of a natural evolutionary process.
Could we say that Mother Earth is actually going through a metamorphosis?
She's giving birth, and every birth is violent.
Yes, it is.
All right. I mean, and if things follow the pattern of nature, there's no different. Why would Mother Nature decide to do it differently?
True.
In her situation, so yeah, it's going to be pretty wild, and I think that we're already getting a taste of that in some of the things that we're seeing that are going on right now.
Cal, can you give us a little bit about the physics of a pole shift?
Yeah, the physics of a pole shift, if you really, want to simplify it, all you have to say is that this is like any other process that the Earth goes through, and there is a pattern to it. So I can give you an idea of what the pattern is.
Please.
From my understanding. Generally, a couple of years before the physical shift occurs, you see a breakdown in all the systems and structures that are keeping the society active. And then as things sort of intensify, which, they have been, it's pretty obvious to anybody that things are changing here. Yeah. The pole shift occurs, and approximately 6 hours before that actually takes place, there is a window of time that opens up where the dimensions start to bleed into each other. And it is during that time that you begin to feel really lightheaded and strange. You start to notice that there are all kinds of fourth dimensional objects floating around in your environment. These things are weird shapes and colors like that you've never even seen before. And as they start to drift into your space, the trick with them is to not look them and not touch them, because if you do, what'll happen is you'll get sucked into the sort of Bermuda Triangle of sorts and enter the fourth dimension at a rate that's a little too rapid. So the trick there is to just not, take note of those things and realize that something is about to come down. And then also realize that during this 6-hour window, all of the systems and structures and the mechanical things and artificial products and things that we build to keep us alive and live in, all that stuff disintegrates. Because anything that is intrinsic, that is not intrinsic to the earth, is going to disintegrate during that 6-hour window. And so during that time, like if you're stuck on a highway or something, you can assume that, your car is going to stop working. Your communication systems are going to stop working probably long before that.
I would imagine that it also means that planes that are airborne are going to come crashing down to the earth.
Yes, there's a lot of, you see, this is the potential for a tremendous amount of violence during this time. And the thing is that if people don't know what's happening, they go into panic. And this is the problem that the elders are telling us. They have all the records from the last pole shift, and they're telling us that more people die of fear during a pole shift than anything else.
But Cal, what happens if everyone is wrong? And there's a lot of hype being talked about the pole shift, the ascension, 2012, the end of the world, and nothing happens. What will this mean about prophecies?
Well, it'll mean one thing. I mean, you've got to make the prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you're making a prophecy not because you hope it's going to come to pass, but because maybe by, a little forewarning and forearming,
right,
you could stave it off. And a lot of people have been theorizing that we can change this. All right, but I do not think that we can stave off a pole shift. I don't think that any of us have sort of achieved that level of mastery. I could be wrong about that. And I don't know how the 100th monkey theory is going to work, because if that kicks in, Christ, we could all wake up and be ascended masters in a nanosecond.
It's interesting times, no two ways about that.
Oh, I know. Isn't it amazing? I'm enjoying the movie, and I think it's very, very interesting watching as things come down.
I've never heard it referred to as a movie, but I can associate with that. That's a wonderful way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's just a movie. And if we could all figure out that, this is our movie, then we could decide to rewrite the script or change it or do whatever we want to it. I think that the potential is there. I just don't know. I live in a rarefied atmosphere, so when I go out, say, on trips and stuff and see what's going on in the rest of the world, I see a lot of unconsciousness there. But at the same time, I see a lot of things that indicate to me that everybody's waking up. So I don't know what to make of things right now. But I do know that we're all getting ready to go through something, the likes of which we've never seen before. And it is a privilege to be here. So I think it behooves us to kind of snap out of whatever it is that we're doing and kind of pay attention.
Cal, it's great having you with us. Please stand by. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation, Kal Garrison is our special guest. She is the author of the Weezer Field Guide to Ascension, The Meaning of Miracles and Shifts in Consciousness, Past and Present. Now, for more information on the Weezer Field Guide to Ascension, www.redwheelweezer.com. And for more information on Cal, www.thespiritofmatt.com. And Matt is spelled M-A-A-T. So that's thespiritofmatt.com. Kal Garrison and I return on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We'll be back after the news and this break. Please don't go away. You're listening to the X Zone Radio Show, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network. X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio,
Euro High Definition Radio,
and Star Cable. Our toll-free telephone number worldwide is 1-800-610-7035.
Our email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com.
On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com,
And our website,
www.xzoneradiotv.com.
Never leave, 'cause I believe I'm in love. Baby, I'm amazed the way you love me all the time. Maybe I'm afraid of the way I love you. Maybe I'm amazed the way you pulled me out of time. You hung me on the line. Maybe I'm amazed at the way I really need you. Maybe I'm a man, maybe I'm a lonely man who's in the
X-Zone Nation, Kal Garrison is our special guest. Our website is www.thespiritofmatt.com. Don't forget, Matt is spelled M-A-A-T. That's thespiritofmatt.com. You know, you talk about heart in your book, Kal, and according to you, the key is to keep moving through the pole shift, ascension process, dimensional shift. Tell me why heart is so important in this entire process.
Oh, that's a good question. The heart is the key to it all because it's the only part of our consciousness that isn't based on polarity. The scientists have even figured out that the heart starts beating before the brain is even formed, so it has its own consciousness, and that consciousness is totally separate from the mind. And the secrets of the heart were well understood by the ancients, but we lost that information at the fall about 13,000 years ago. And the information has come back to us because the elders have started to come back and share it with us. So the technique for getting into the heart, there are a number of ways to do it, but the one that that Drumbelow Melchizedek describes in his book Living in the Heart is the one that I use. And that book is a good reference for that process. But the point of going into the heart is that once you figure out how to get in, that place is the creation point, okay? And it is the terminal that connects you to 0 point and to absolutely everything in the universe. So from that place, it is possible to access all frequencies, all dimensions, and all you have to do is find your way there. This information is not, it's arcane, but at this point, the secrets of the heart are being shared openly for the first time in a very long time. And I think most of the people, or all of the people that are involved in Drumbelow's work, understand that wisdom. Because they do, it has changed a lot of things here. A lot of things have changed. Even the extremity of the pole shift has been altered to a certain extent by some of the spiritual work that people have done. But you got to get into your heart. And it's interesting because I am sure that everybody understands what I'm talking about, when I say that. Because if you could pick any place in the body that might be the place where God resides, I think everybody would agree that it's the heart. So you have to get in touch with your God self in order to get through this. And it's interesting because it also is the place that gives us the possibility of recreating things in a way that is more to our liking, because you can actually create anything you want from the heart. It isn't polarized in the way that the mind is. So anything you create from the heart space is going to come out with no negative result.
You see, Kal, when I think of December the 21st, 2012, and if it does happen, I believe that it's nothing that is going to be negative. I like you, believe it's going to be positive. I look at it as the greatest rebirth of spirituality that this planet has ever seen.
Yes, you're exactly right, 100%.
Yeah. And
and we all need to be thinking about this, because does it mean for us that have been totally sort of brainwashed into the technoculture and all of the things that represents, because it's so far away from what we need to be doing. We really got to pull ourselves back to the inner stuff now.
Where we should have been a long time ago.
Oh, I know. And it's okay, because this is how things go. This is part of a cycle, and we had to go into the dark part of the cycle. The male energy that's been dominating the matrix, for the last 13,000 years was necessary, because we were so far away from the light. We needed that male force to protect us during the darkness. But we've been emerging out of that. And so now things are shifting, because the female already took over. And we're moving into this time of light and harmony and unity that we all remember in some particle of our being, but that we haven't experienced in such a long time. We've sort of forgotten it. And it's your connection to nature, and your connection to your heart self, and your connection to the things that you love.
And it's also the connection to that power that we call God.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Talk about overlooking the obvious, right? Yeah.
Tell me, Kal, you mentioned sex too in your book. Why is sex such a big part of the ascension process?
Well, the whole thing with sex has been so screwed up. I mean, if you figure that every single one of our core beliefs has been screwed up, our ideas about sex have gotten really twisted.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the sexual elements and the exercises that I describe in the chapter called Sex and the Ascension is to help people understand that there are secrets to that we could be using on a regular basis that would help us sort of use the orgasmic energy to deepen our connection to spirit and to tune our bodies to the frequencies that we're tuning to in our hearts and our minds. Do you understand what I mean?
I certainly do.
So there is this practice that is very ancient that the Egyptian tantric initiates used. And it's unlike a lot of other tantric practices that advise people to contain themselves when they reach the point of orgasm. This method of achieving orgasm is a little different, because the Egyptians believed that the orgasm was healthy, and actually necessary for your physical being.
And that's true.
And what they describe is a method whereby at the moment that you're about to achieve orgasm, you take that energy from the base chakra, send it up to the heart chakra, hold your breath, and send it out the back and over your head into the front of your heart chakra. What happens is that orgasmic energy, which ordinarily would be just like draining a battery with every orgasm, goes back into your body and rejuvenates you. And this is a really, really interesting practice. I think if people do it, it's not that hard. You have to practice, but, hey.
Practice makes perfect.
Twist my arm.
Yeah, exactly.
So at any rate, the whole process for achieving what is known as the Anking method of achieving orgasm is explained in the Ascension book. And it's an interesting practice that if couples do it, what happens is the whole experience takes them up to a whole other level of consciousness.
Kal, if we are indeed moving up, can you tell us a little bit about what you believe it will be like in the next world?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the interesting thing. Basically, I think that anything that we could define as heavenly would be how I picture it. But the one thing I do know for sure, I can't visualize it, because I think it's really, really hard to envision something that's that far outside of the box with three-dimensional eyes. My sense is that that all of us, that when we arrive, in that place, and we open our eyes after we go through the 3 days of darkness, we're going to open our eyes on a world that is a place where whatever you think is going to manifest immediately.
Really?
Yes.
So it's
And
going to be
so
like it's going to be
excuse
like
me?
a giant size holodeck. If it's, as soon as you think it, bang, it's going to be there.
It's going to, yes, whatever you think, it's going to happen. And so what happens is if you're prepared for this and you know when you get there, oh, great, I'm here. Gee, I think I'll make myself look like Sophia Loren.
Bang.
Boom. Or if you get there and say, oh, Jesus Christ, what's going on here? I'm totally freaked out. Guess what? You're going to be even more freaked out because you're going to manifest whatever your fears are. So it's good to think about, that, yes, we are going to go through this process. There is, after that 6-hour window that I described, there is a process where this spectral fog comes in and you are surrounded by it and filled with it. You go through every color of the spectrum, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in this crystalline reality that is pure light and gold, and then boom, all of a sudden you go into complete and total darkness for about 3 days, okay? And that is what they call moving through the great void, and this is the place that Mother Earth has to go through every time she moves from one dimension to the other. This is a place that we all have to go to whenever we move from one dimension to another. So that 3 days of darkness, basically, it's like being in a dream state or like the ultimate sensory deprivation chamber. And all you're really supposed to do during that time is kind of relax and go into the dream. And then I am told that at the end of that time, a blinding flash of light wakes you up and you are in this place that we're all supposed to be going to, that it's hard to describe because I really can only imagine that it would look whatever I think heaven looks like to me now.
So does this mean when this happens, we all have to cease our physical bodies and we, for all intents and purposes, die?
Well, that's an interesting question. There are a lot of people who are going to die and be resurrected. Okay, for the people that are sort of able to sort of maintain themselves and stay centered through the experience, they're going to take their bodies with them.
Okay.
Yeah, you won't have to go through the dying process. The whole thing, in the Bible, when you read the ascension story and all of that, those things that Christ did, he did for us. And when they say that Christ died for our sins, I'm not sure if that's entirely correct, because what he really did was come here to implant certain codes in the collective unconscious so that when the time came for us to enter the Aquarian age, that the piece of Christ consciousness that knows about resurrection, that knows how to move through the ascension process, would be alive and awakened in our hearts the moment that process began. All right, so my feeling is that we all have these codes inseminated into us through what he did, because actually what he did was create a template for us. So his resurrection and ascension provided that for us.
He did say, I will show you the way.
Yeah, and I think this is what he was talking about. And when he said it will be in the last days that I will pour forth my spirit on all mankind, we forget that the sign Aquarius is the sign of the water bearer.
That's right.
So it is the spirit of Christ consciousness that is pouring down and through all of us right now. And I think as soon as the magnetic field shuts down, I think we're going to begin to remember how to do this.
We are a lot of people are going to get on their knees and start praying like they've never prayed before, and you'll have those who have never prayed who automatically find God.
Yes, that's true. That's true, because, we're all the 100th monkey here.
That's right.
So if the work you do is going to help 100,000 other people, just snap out of it, I think that's a good thing. And it's good to see it that way. Yes, I believe that it is possible to wake up in an instant, and I'm not sure how it's all going to come down, but this is the time, all right? And it is, what do the Indians say? They say you say that this is the 11th hour. We say that it is the hour. And so the time has come for us to prepare. And whatever that means to you, I think the best thing to realize is that to start thinking about it in spiritual terms instead of catastrophic terms, and try to remember that it's your connection to your heart and to Mother Nature and the frequency that she's on that's going to help you through this.
You see, and people forget, Cal. Well, most people forget, not the people that I've had the pleasure of talking to over the last 20 years, and people like yourself who are kind enough to come on and share their experiences, that we need to look at the butterfly, and as the butterfly goes through a metamorphosis from a caterpillar to a beautiful butterfly, and then you've got the toad who goes into a frog. And nature has been showing us from the beginning of time that changes happen in everything. We forgot to look at the seasons, as in the spring is the birth, in the summer are the adult years, in the fall are the elder years, and in the winter you die. But what happens in the spring? It comes back. Life is a cycle, and I think that what the Native Americans and the Native Canadians and the Hopis and the other indigenous people around the world have been trying to get through our thick skulls is that we haven't stopped growing, we haven't stopped evolving, that we are not at the end of our learning experience, and we still have a lot more to learn before we get to where we want to be.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it, really. And it's interesting because we have a lot of support right now.
Sure.
I mean, the ET and the interterrestrial support that we've got coming in right now is awesome.
Hey, listen, you and I've got to take a commercial break. We're nearly out of time for this segment. Please stand by. Kal Garrison's our special guest, www.spiritofmat.com. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away. Exonation, Kal Garrison's our special guest this hour, and we've been talking to Kal about her new book that just came out in May of this year, The Weezer Field Guide to Ascension, The Meaning of Miracles and Shifts in Consciousness, Past and Present. Now, if you'd like more information on how to get a copy of The Weezer Field Guide to Ascension, their website is www.redwheelweezer.com. And if you'd like to find out more about Kal, she's got a great website, www.thespiritofmat.com. That's www.thespiritofmat.com, and Matt is spelled MAAT.com. Kal, first of all, great having you with us. I fully enjoyed this hour. It's been a great hour. Yeah. And Kal, where do the indigo children fit into the big picture?
Oh, they're the biggest part of it, I think, because one of the things that I'm noticing, from the people. Mm-hmm. The older indigos are in their mid-30s now, maybe close to 38, some of them. And what I see that's going on in that sector of indigos is that they're really taking ownership of some of the structural changes that need to take place right now. Mm-hmm. In other words, they're kind of a straighter shooting people, but they've got a spiritual heart, and they're bringing that energy into the system. The younger ones are total geniuses, and I notice all the time, like I do this magazine, The Spirit of Mat. It's Drumvalo Melchizedek's webzine, and the information that comes into me every month, a lot of the stuff that's really innovative comes in from these young kids who are having ideas about what's going on right now that they're pulling out of their experience and out of the ether, and it's coinciding totally with what the spiritual leaders and the scientists are saying. So there's something going on with this generation of kids. They come from another part of the galaxy or another part of the cosmos, and they're all here now to fix what we've broken. All of them.
Geez, I hope they
All
fix
of them.
that massive oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico soon. That's heartbreaking.
Well, you know, as far as that goes, it's very, very interesting because I think we're going to get a lot of help with that, and
Yeah.
I have a feeling, you know, there are already people coming forward with solutions to it, but the problem is, you know what I mean, nobody's
Uh-huh.
listening because, of course, they have this other agenda going
Yep.
on there. So it's hard to figure, but we're going to fix it. We have to fix it.
Yes, we do.
And it's in the next few months are very, very critical.
Cal,
You know,
like
there's-
I'm
yeah.
sorry, dear. Just we're coming down to about 30 seconds, so if you can just finish off that thought. I didn't mean to push you.
Oh, no, hey, it's okay. It's been so great talking to you, and I'm glad we hooked up.
So am I, Cal.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your book. I'd like to have you back on in the very near future because I'd like to talk to you about the extraterrestrial and inner Earth connection.
Oh, the inner terrestrial thing is really huge.
It certainly is.
And a lot of people don't know about that. And right now, the whole thing with the ETs is about to pop. So,
You and
yeah,
I
let's
will
talk
have you
about
back
it.
on in a couple of weeks. We'll make it happen. And Cal, thanks very much for joining us. Really appreciate you joining us and continued
All right, thank
success. Bye-bye now.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Kal Garrison, www.thespiritofmatt.com, or you can find out all about her at Red Wheel Weezer. There's a good tongue twister.com. I'll be back on the other side of the news at the top of the hour at 6.5 minutes past as the X Zone continues. We're right here live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. See you on the other side of the news.